GTA 6 is going to disappoint you. Not because Rockstar will fail, not because the game will be bad, but because nothing on Earth could survive what this game has been built up to be in the minds of 225 million people over 13 years. And once you understand why that disappointment is coming, and why it does not matter at all, you will be able to enjoy November 19th in a way most people won't. Let's start with the numbers, because the numbers tell you everything. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick has described GTA 6 as the best thing anyone has ever seen in the history of entertainment. Not the best game, not the best open world, the best thing in the history of entertainment. He has also privately described the pressure around the launch as both exciting and terrifying. In a Bloomberg interview just 2 weeks ago, he said the goal is to deliver something that has never been experienced before. And then in the same breath he called it a tall order. He is the CEO of the company that owns this game. He is the person most financially motivated to believe in it. And even he is quietly terrified that the expectations have grown beyond what any game could satisfy. Here is what those expectations actually look like at ground level. GTA 5 sold 225 million copies. A large portion of those buyers have been playing GTA Online for anywhere between 1 and 13 years. They have built characters, accumulated in-game wealth, spent hundreds or thousands of hours in a world that they know intimately. When GTA 6 arrives, they are not approaching it as a fresh experience. They are approaching it as the replacement for something they already love, filtered through 13 years of imagining what it could be. The fan who has been playing GTA Online since 2013 has spent a decade building a mental version of GTA 6 in their head. Every leaked feature they read about became a promise. Every trailer frame they analyzed for hidden details became a commitment. Every rumor about the map size, the story, the police system, the relationship mechanics, the enterable buildings, all of it has been absorbed into a version of GTA 6 that exists only in their imagination. And that imaginary version of the game has had 13 years to become perfect. No game that actually ships can compete with a game that only exists in someone's imagination. The imaginary game never has bugs. The imaginary game never has missing features. The imaginary game always has exactly the thing the person wanted most. The real game will have some of those things. It will not have all of them. It cannot. Because a team of 6,000 people working for a decade cannot anticipate and fulfill the individual dreams of 225 million different people simultaneously. Cyberpunk 2077 is the most instructive recent example of what happens when a game carries this kind of weight. CD Projekt Red spent 8 years making it. They promised an immersive living city, full of reactive NPCs with complex schedules, dynamic police systems, and a world that felt genuinely alive. The anticipation was extraordinary. The launch was one of the most catastrophic in gaming history, not because the game was bad, but because the gap between what people had imagined and what actually shipped was so wide that it broke trust entirely. The game Sony had to remove from the PlayStation Store. The game that took 3 years of patches and updates to become what it should have been at launch. Rockstar has watched Cyberpunk 2077 happen. They have delayed GTA 6 twice specifically because they do not want to repeat it. Former Rockstar developers have said publicly that people might be disappointed on day one simply because expectations have outgrown what any game can realistically deliver on launch. Not because the game is bad, because the gap between imagination and reality is too large for any product to fully close. And here is the part that everybody arguing about expectations is missing. Disappointment on day one is not the same as the game being bad, and it is certainly not the same as the game being a failure. Cyberpunk 2077 sold 25 million copies in its first 10 days despite one of the worst launches in recent memory. After 3 years of patches, it now holds an 86% positive rating on Steam and is widely considered one of the best RPGs of the decade. The launch disappointment was real. The game beneath it was also real. Both things were true at the same time. What changed was not the game. What changed was what people were measuring it against. GTA 6 will almost certainly be an extraordinary game by any objective measure. The map is enormous. The world is more detailed than anything Rockstar has built before. The story has two protagonists in a genuine romantic relationship for the first time in the franchise's history. The police system is the most realistic ever attempted in an open-world game. The NPC world reacts dynamically in ways no GTA game has managed. By every available metric, what Rockstar is building is exceptional. It is just not going to be perfect. Nothing is. And after 13 years of being imagined as perfect, the distance between exceptional and perfect is going to feel enormous to a lot of people in the first week. The review embargo will lift, and a percentage of critics will note the things that are not there. GTA Online will not launch on day one. It comes a month later. Some feature that was heavily rumored will not appear in the final game. The map will be exactly as large as it is, and someone will have expected it to be larger. The story will be exactly as long as it is, and someone will have expected it to be longer. The loading times will be exactly what they are, and someone will have expected them to be faster. And social media will amplify every one of those gaps into a narrative that the game is a disappointment. Because social media rewards the strongest reaction, and disappointment from an event this large generates stronger reactions than satisfaction. Here is what actually matters. GTA 5 was called disappointing by a portion of fans who had expected it to be GTA San Andreas. 13 years later, it has sold 225 million copies and is still making over $1 million a day. The Red Dead Redemption 2 launch had a portion of fans who felt the slow opening hours were too restrictive and the story too linear. It now sits as one of the most critically acclaimed games ever made and is widely considered Rockstar's masterpiece. Rockstar games almost always grow in the public estimation over time because they are built for the long run, not the opening weekend. GTA 6 is not being built to win the first week. It is being built to be played for the next decade. The first week's reaction, whatever it is, will be a tiny fraction of what this game's legacy actually becomes. Take-Two has said GTA 6 Online will evolve with updates and expansions for years. The world of Leonida is designed to grow. Features that are not present at launch may arrive in updates. The story ending that feels conclusive on day one may be the setup for something larger over the following years. Rockstar's relationship with a game does not end at launch. GTA 5 proved that more convincingly than any game in history. So here is the actual advice for November 19th. Go in with what you know rather than what you imagined. You know the map is enormous. You know the characters are compelling. You know the world reacts to you in ways no previous GTA managed. You know Rockstar spent somewhere approaching $5 billion and 13 years building it. You know it will be technically extraordinary. You know it will be funny and dark and chaotic and beautiful. You do not know whether every single thing you personally hoped for will be there. It probably won't all be there. And that is completely fine. Because exceptional games that fall short of imaginary perfection have a long track record of becoming beloved over time. The people who walked out of The Dark Knight saying it was too long, and the Joker was not as good as Jack Nicholson look very different in retrospect. The people who said Red Dead Redemption 2 was too slow look very different 3 years later when it had won every award and changed what open worlds could be. GTA 6 will disappoint some people on day one. It will be a landmark achievement in entertainment regardless. Both of those things will be true simultaneously. And 6 months after launch, most of the people who were disappointed will be unable to stop playing it. That is how Rockstar games work, and they have been doing this long enough to know exactly what they are doing.